Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We would like to welcome all of you to the second session of the 7 expert panel discussions happening for the TADS Awards, the world's first. So today's topic will be on market opportunities for tokenized assets and digitalized securities. We have another few sessions after this one, as shown on the screen, that you can also sign up for. So they will also be covering other key topics in the TADS sector. And so feel free to scan the QR code on the upper right hand of the screen. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact Sam or Camille. So before we keep going, I'll first like to give you a really quick rundown of today's event. So Sam, Chairman of Steering Committee of TADS Awards, founder and CEO of CoinStreet Partners, will start off with a quick information session on the TADS Awards 2021. And then followed by that, we will have our expert panel discussion. So with that said, let's give a warm welcome to Sam.
Thank you, Sandy. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining, and also thank you for all the guests from our expert panel joining today. It will be a very exciting panel. I'm looking forward very much. So here I'm going to take a quick time to share some information about the TADS Awards. Okay, so I'm Sam Lee, the chairman of the steering committee of TADS Awards 2021. So TADS Awards, it is the world's first annual international awards for the tokenized assets and digitized security sector. It celebrates this industry by recognizing and honoring significant contributions and distinguished achievements worldwide. It brings together individuals and businesses to share the energy that tokenization brings to the financial sector. It's also nurture the growth of this specific industry by joining establish the best practices and setting measuring standards for high quality tokenized asset and digitized securities together with other industry leaders on the global market. So that's what TADS Awards stand for. We have great pleasure that this year is the second year of TADS Awards. We host the first year of TADS Awards last year, and very thankful to have a lot of nomination, and eventually also have very high quality winners of the 10 awards. Such as, like in our awards, we have 2 categories. First of all, as you can see in the screen on the left-hand side, what we call the Best of Class TADS Awards. This will go to different token issuers. And on the right-hand side is the Ecosystem Excellency Awards, which goes to the service and solution provider along the value chain. So some of the winners last year, for example, like MyBlock Capitals is one of the first fully licensed crypto funds in Hong Kong. We have got Wave Financials, who is one of the leading digital investment bank in this space. And also we're very glad that one of the founder, Ben, is joining us as a panel speaker tonight. Thank you, Ben. And we also last year got like Libra Project is the first approved STO from ADGM in UAE, right? And on the ecosystem excellence side, for example, one of the winners is the Securitize, one of the leading player in the token issuing space, and Ledger, who just recently raised a round of 380 million and become a 1.5 billion dollar unicorn, right? So we very thankful and great honor to have such a wonderful winners from last year, and definitely we're looking forward for this year as well. This year awards is on the high level is the same structure with one side is the Best of Class TADS Awards, also going to the asset issuer, and the other is the Ecosystem Excellency, targeting for the service provider. But in the subcategory within each category, we have some new elements. And of course, one of those are NFT. So this year we have added a subcategory on the best of class TADS category under the NFT tokens. And on the other hand, on the solution provider, also on NFT platform as well. In addition, because the requirement and the judging criteria for different awards are quite high, so we have got comments from our partners that we should also reward those up and coming company, people work in progress. So this year we have added what we call the Rising Star Awards for both categories. So this will aim to recognize those up and coming companies who's working their way up. As you can imagine, the two awards categories, Best of Class TADS and Ecosystem Excellency, are going to different target groups. So the judging criteria for these two categories are also very different, right? For example, on the Best of Class TADS, we have the judging criteria more focused on rating whether almost like a financial product, right? So all those digitized securities are financial products. On the other hand, the Ecosystem Excellency, the judging criteria is more around a technical solution, right? So as you can say, like impact, practicality, and things like that. But there's one common judging criteria among the two categories is compliance, because now we are dealing with digital securities and tokenized assets. We believe in both from the financial product point of view and also the solution point of view, have to address the issue around compliance. The nomination already started. It will run until September 30th. So if any of you is interested, please submit your application online. We are planning to host a award ceremony in early November as a side event of a Hong Kong FinTech Week. Whether we will be able to do a face-to-face event or maybe hybrid like last year, it will depend on the situation of the pandemic. But at least we can do a hybrid event for the ceremony like we did last year. These are some of the steering committee for this year, and many of them already supported last year and supported again. But we also have some new members, for example, like Robert Lui, the leader of the digital asset team in Deloitte in Hong Kong, and also Daniel, the president of the board of director of Crypto Valley Association from Switzerland. And these are the organizing committees. We also have some new members, such as the deputy chairman of disciplinary committee of the Singapore Exchange Limited, Mr. Tan Chung Ho, and also Eva Chan, the chairman of Hong Kong Investor Relations Association. These are, as you can see, the Best of Class TADS Awards and the Ecosystem Excellency Award category is very different. So the composition of the judging committee is also very different, right? So the judging committee for the Best of Class TADS Awards include a lot of experts from the financial industry, where the judges from the Ecosystem Excellent Award will have more experts from the tech ecosystem. Our awards will not be able to make possible without the support from strategic partners. We are very thankful for the gracious support from each of them, and also supporting organizations around the world. We have also thank you for our strategic sponsors, research and legal partners, and also support from regulated exchange from different countries. And our media partners also help out a lot to spread the word around the world. We have got very good coverage globally about these awards. And this is the timeline of the whole awards. As you can see here, we will be hosting 7 expert discussion panel. Today is the second one. You can find the information on our website. It's all session of different topics covering different areas. It will run until end of September, which is the closing day of our nomination. And then we will break out for our vetting committee and audit committee to do some shortlisting in early November, early October. And the judging committee will do the judging in mid-October. And hopefully we should have all the awards result by end of October. Therefore, we can have the award ceremony in early November. Very compressed schedule, but with the help and support from our wonderful committee and many partners, we very confident that we can make it happen on time, on schedule. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for your presentation. So quickly reshare the slides here. All righty. Okay, so now introducing our moderator today, we have Ian Fong, who's the Director of Marketing and Partnerships at Propine. Welcome, Ian. Really excited to see you moderate this. And of course, we have our panelists. So we'll go one by one in terms of introduction. First of all, we have James Rowe, who's the Managing Partner of Ontoro Capital. Next, we have Dr. Alf Henning Richter, who's the Board Member Finance Commission of the European Technology Chamber. Next, we have Ben Tsai, who is the President and Managing Partner of Wave Financial. And last but not least, we have Irene Wong, who's the founder and CEO of IX FinTech Group. So now I'm going to pass it off to you, Ian.
Thanks, Sandy. Hi, I'm Ian from Propine. Propine is the first MAS regulated and licensed end-to-end digital assets custody firm, and we serve the needs of institutional clients. I'll be your host today for the TADS Award Second Expert Panel discussion. And to those delegates who have just joined us or taken time to join us, thank you very much. And we hope that you will enjoy today's exciting panel discussion on market opportunities of tokenized assets and digitized securities ahead of the upcoming TADS Awards ceremony this year. So we will start with, maybe probably the first question. But before that, as we all know that digital securities is an absolute game changer for the capital market. Through distributed ledger technology, it brings in a new era of capital raising and investment with both the efficiency of cryptocurrencies, as well as smart digital representation of ownership of a tradable financial asset. With the burgeoning industry over the last few years, key infrastructure and markets are currently in place, and supporters are certain that digital securities are primed to take off very soon as the industry takes shape to create a lasting legacy. While the reality has yet to catch up with the hype's full potential, with the recent increase of digital securities offerings, by traditional players such as DBS, UOB, and many others, this may signal the onset of an industry-wide butterfly effect for its global adoption. But where is digital securities headed next? And what are the big challenges that need to be addressed for its global adoption? So that's what we will be discussing with our panelists today. So we all know that digital securities is global in nature, and it increases liquidity. It also increases capital market efficiency and decreases the cost of servicing digital assets, and can potentially create bespoke structured product that can unlock the best value for both sides on the table. It opens up private markets to non-accredited investors or investors with much smaller ticket size, thereby leveling the playing field and create equal investment opportunity for all. So now I'm going to ask the panel to gaze into their crystal balls. Are we now at the beginning of the J-curve of asset tokenization and digital securities adoption? And if it's yes, why do you think so? And if not, when do you think that we will see that happening? Shall we start alphabetical order? James, probably, would you like to start first?
I'd be happy to. Thanks, Ian. I think we're close. I don't believe we're quite there yet. I believe there's some significant infrastructure and regulatory things that need to be settled before we have an explosive activity. Like any new product, it takes a little while to get or concept. It takes a little while to get moving. Being in the States, it's a different situation because we've had stops and starts with the SEC and the regulators here, and it's very different. I usually explain it to a lot of people is that the digitization and the crypto phenomena started from the groundswell. It didn't come from a top down, it came from a bottom up. And that was very non-traditional in financial evolution. If you look at most products ever created in the last 80 years, it's come from the bigger players kind of pushing it down, and the regulators were kind of involved in, and there was a lot of cooperation, for the lack of a better word. When you have crypto come in, you had digitization. There wasn't the infrastructure there. There was kind of a groundswell coming up. So, the regulators, first and foremost, just kind of stopped in their tracks. And so it really slowed things down, particularly in the US. And there was a lot of just, fear, unknown, because look, you're taking the control away from the regulators. You're taking the control away from a lot of, normal patterns of incumbents. So I think once that gets worked out and it gets taken care of, you're in much better shape. Additionally, early on in the market, in the cycle, there were a lot of people that just weren't involved. I mean, they didn't have a reason to be in the space, and it really kind of clouded the situation and muddied the waters, so to speak. And I think once those players have exited and you get real professionals in that are broker dealers, custodians, transfer agents, people that really have a vested interest in making sure capital markets are efficient, then it will sail a lot faster.
Well, thank you, James. I think, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that we are seeing it actually from the bottoms up. I mean, it's really something that of a demand that is from the masses that, before the government or the regulation actually sort of started to sort of take a look. At least that's for especially the US side. So Dr. Richter, I would like to get to you now. Do you have any comments on that? And what do you see in terms of probably Asia or even Europe?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Dr. Richter.
Classic mistake. So thank you very much for having me. I'm based in Hong Kong. I'm originally from Germany. You can probably see that from my name. I'm quite fascinated what is happening very recently. As a good Germany, we like energy transition very much. And I think one of the great opportunities is the emergence of green digital assets. So the fact that we're moving away from just a transaction-based idea that cryptocurrencies, but much more into the space of mission-based tokens and digital assets that have a certain function that will fulfill certain goals that we have as societies. So in Europe, we have the European Green Deal, and a lot of people are hopping onto these opportunities now that basically combining on the one hand side the major trend of digitization of industries across the world, and at the same time, we do believe that the emerging climate industry is going to be a great opportunity also for the digital assets, the creation of digital assets, investable, and also potential securities in the future that will be investable for mainstream institutions and potentially also retail investors in the future. So at the European Technology Chamber, our mission is basically to promote technology that has a purpose. And I would say I've been here in Hong Kong only 1.5 years, and I can see, of course, you all know what happened here in Hong Kong, that Hong Kong has a great chance to become a center in Asia for that particular trend to help support the financing and also the exchange between different regulatory systems in order to help create this ecosystem. So that's where I come from, and I'm very happy to discuss further for anyone interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin, anything to add?
Yeah, so just a quick intro on my side before we jump into this. My name is Benjamin Tsai. I come from Wave Financial. We're a U.S. SEC registered investment advisor, and we focus on asset management and wealth management in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space, with about $500 million of AUM under management, probably more now. So we actually were very proud winners of last year's asset-backed token award for our whiskey fund, and hopefully we'll be going after another award this year for something else that we're doing. But that's kind of the background of what I am approaching this. And from my perspective, the regulatory environment is starting to build up, and I'm really waiting for the interest from more of the client side to be excited with regards to this. I think that there is primary marketing, but it hasn't really quite caught on yet, and we're really looking forward to that. And not only that, I believe that there needs to be secondary marketing for existing instruments, so that the secondary liquidity can really be provided. And that's the area that we're most interested in with regards to the type of products that we're looking at and so forth. We're really seeing that as a tool.
So Benjamin, do you think that it is the edification process that is not fast enough? That's why customers are not sort of like coming on board, so to say. Also,
I think it's a combination of different things. James mentioned infrastructure. I think infrastructure is a big thing, and we're all in the business of building that infrastructure and building products put through this infrastructure. So that's certainly the first part of it. I think that's making some progress now. We are able to tokenize assets. We tokenize whiskey from a fund perspective. And we're looking at tokenizing other assets. And I think the tokenization idea and the platform to be able to deliver that is there now. The tricky part now is also to get a lot of the major distribution channels to start accepting this as an asset, for them to promote it. And finally, from an investor perspective, really for them to understand that this is a tool that's available. These are the asset classes they can invest in, and really just getting the word out that this is another form of investing. And I think that's, that also requires more time and more work from everybody in the industry.
Irene, would you like to comment?
Okay, thanks for having me. First of all, a little bit of my background. I'm now running my fintech firm, IX Fintech Group, founded in 2015. Before that, I hold various positions, including, the head of Hang Seng Index, the senior vice president of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and work for three global hedge funds with an AUM of $13 billion at the peak. And I'm responsible for the Asian trade execution. So I'm very familiar with the financial products and the regulations in Hong Kong. And I think, the questions about whether, it is a J-curve pickup, we can look at it from a different perspective. I myself is thinking that some products, some asset, which is more standardized, should be easier to pick up. So commodity like maybe white wines, so whiskey, which is easy to get standardization, should be some of the, I would say, easier, successful products. And in the past 2 years, we have a lot of inquiries from different tycoons in China urging us to build an exchange for them. Can be a white wine exchange, red wine exchange, even fish exchange, and different kind of very innovative exchange. And we always go back to them to discuss with them whether this can really whether the product can really pick up, or whether you can have a good chance of building the liquidity and making money. Because at the end, we can build the exchange, but we cannot guarantee whether there will be enough trades which can sustain the platform. And having said that, we put our effort and time on building the infrastructure, because we think before trades coming in, we should protect the users on their safety. So two things: first of all, the AML, and second, the security are two of the major area that we have been putting effort into in the past few years. And indexing is another thing that we are focusing. And the story behind is we want to help diversify risk for the retail customer. In Hong Kong, we promote freedom of speech and freedom of trade. So we always give the public, the freedom to choose whatever, instruments that they want to invest. However, because Bitcoin, Ethereum, and those cryptocurrencies are very new to the industries, right? And we, although cannot prevent them from trading, which maybe in the future, our government may prevent the public from trading, and only the PI can trade. So what we hope in 2018 is to build an index and help to diversify the risk by giving a cap of 40% on one single constituent in the index. So if Bitcoin suddenly disappear tomorrow, the investor who invests in the index products can still have 60% of their portfolio remaining, the next day. So that's the idea behind. Okay. And last year we announced, the invention of the digital asset exchange machines, which unlike the other ATM machines, first of all, it is post-quantum safe, meaning that the new post-quantum computer cannot hack. And the technology belongs to a Canadian startup and with patent, which Hitachi in Japan and also PwC are looking in it and in the adoption of the technology. And we believe the quantum computing, it will be coming sooner than most of the people think in a few years' time. So we better get prepared. And second thing is, I also think is important is while we are trying to protect people by doing all these authentication, how are we going to also give the privacy to the people to balance the two things? And that's why this year we also have partnered with PolyDigi and Edinburgh startup on introducing the privacy identity authentication, which divided the identity into upper key and lower key. So to enable this privacy happen. And we are going to launch this wallet with the crypto safe and also the privacy identity authentication later this year. So back to the questions, I think it still need another 5 years, I think, for the digital securities to pick up. And the main reason is because of the education, which takes time. And also, I think, when it picks up, it will, as I said, will be depending on what asset, and those which is easy standardized will come first. And very difficult to standardize, for example, like maybe the real estate, right? Will be more difficult. And in fact, some other things like NFT on art, copyright, music, I think you will see it faster in picking up maybe in just the coming 1 to 2 years. Thank you.
Yeah, well, looks like it's going to be a busy year for IX FinTech. Right?
Yeah, we have a lot of mission.
All the best to you, Irene.
Thank you.
Yeah, so according to the Security Token Market reports, the closing market cap for global SEOs have increased exponentially from $60 million in 2019, $370 million in 2020, and almost $1 billion to date. So James, the next question goes to you. Coming from a background of a traditional market with an enormous amount of experience in various areas of deal structuring and energy finance, in your professional and personal capacities, do you think that tokenization and digital securities are quickly gaining traction despite its slow start? And whether the current pandemic played a role in this upsurge of adoption?
Ian, I would actually answer it in reverse. I would say the pandemic actually accelerated a lot of activity. I know it accelerated our business plan, and it collapsed the last 5 years of what we expected to about 5 months. So I think it did help out, and I think people are a lot more savvy being online, etc. That being said, the vast majority of the population still doesn't know the difference between a digital security and Bitcoin. And even some of the people that should know the difference in the regulator space don't know the difference either. So we're still challenged with an understanding and a just a fundamental understanding of what we're talking about. Now, do I believe that these are going to grow? Yes. In our book alone, the eToro book, we probably have nearly $1 billion worth of transactions that are being, we're in the process of being tokenized. So we ourselves are 3 times what last year's number is going to be. So if that's an indication, I think you're going to see beyond exponential activity for year over year. But that's still doesn't, when you're going from 60 million to that's a drop in the ocean, so to speak,
of course,
of kind of routine. So until we're at 50 billion, that type of number, US, it will be an exponential increase. I think you're going to see new products that are going to be created. From our side, we're doing things in the commodity space. I have primarily an energy background. So if you also look at history and you're going to see what happens in this space, you already have a go by, and that go by was the 90s in the merchant energy space. And if you're a student of history and you're a student of finance, all you need to do is understand what happened in that space, and you're going to see the same things happen in the digital and crypto space. So the map's already there, the roadmap's there. You just need to be old enough like me to remember what some of those things are, and it's already been done. The one thing I failed to do is introduce who I am and what we do. So eToro is actually an investment bank. We're a broker dealer. We have 2 RIAs. We also have a private securities valuation company, crypto and digital trading desk, and I'm also the chairman of a transfer agent business. So I see it from a lot of angles and a lot of different perspectives. So with all of that, we're trying to create a alts ecosystem, not just a digital or crypto.
Excellent. Thank you. Benjamin, enormous kudos to the launching of your second iteration of Wave Kentucky Whiskey Digital Fund. And for those of you who are not familiar, in 2020, Wave created the world's first tokenized portfolio of whiskey barrels, and that captured the value appreciation associated with the spirit's aging process. So the next question goes to you. To invest in many alternative investment classes, such as hedge funds, venture capital, or private equity, an individual must qualify as an accredited investor. And one of the key advantages for security tokens are the enabling of a level playing field where smaller investors will get the opportunity to access open private markets through tokenized fund vehicles, and thereby creating market efficiency. So are we seeing a rise in such cases for the industry, or is regulation clarity sort of impeding its progress?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very deep question. And then there's a kind of a philosophical angle to this also. I think the regulator stuck between, a rock and a hard place with regards to how much they open up access to these new asset classes and new developments and so forth. So on the one hand, I believe in having everyone be able to access everything so they have the freedom to do what they want to do. But on the other hand, the government is there to try to protect investors from certain elements and certain projects that may or may not be viable for that investment. And also investors tend to invest in projects that are, for example, hot or very interesting, that may or may not, deserve that investment. So, and it's a very tough one from that perspective. So, from the government's perspective, if we were to go down, and I'm speaking mainly of the US government, although there's a similar setup to most of the developed world in terms of the financial systems, if projects want to go through a public offering process, it is relatively cumbersome and relatively cost ineffective, but it can be done, and that can be offered to the masses. And I think what we're trying to do in the tokenization scheme is to try to replace that long and burdensome process with something much more efficient, so it could be applied to smaller projects to be able to reach out more quickly. And the government is generally supportive of that by creating a number of different ways of accessing the market. whether that's a Reg A exemption, whether that's a Reg CF exemption, that's a Reg D exemption or Reg S exemption for different channels and different applications with different, standards that are attached to them. Reg CF gives you a lot of freedom, but it's capped in terms of the amount raised. Reg D is, not so restrictive, but we require access only to accredited investors and so forth. So the different ways that it's being sliced up. And I think that's what the government is trying to do, is trying to protect the investor base. So I don't see it really as an impediment to investors as a whole. It's really kind of safety net built around it. With that said, we're looking at the different ways to approaching this. Our whiskey fund, we go through a Reg D offering and a Reg S for international offering, so global clients can access that. With that said, for the US, for example, on a Reg D basis, it's only for accredited investors for now. Our understanding and our belief is that once the Reg D 1-year lockup is over, when we list these tokens on an exchange that can support it, and we have signed a letter of intent to list with INX, the one of the biggest security token exchanges in the US. Our understanding is that after the first year of lockup, those tokens, the US versions of that at least, are available to the masses on INX. INX is able to support that. So you don't have to be an accredited investor to participate in the secondary after the lockup period. So I believe that this is the government's way of saying, look, the product has been out for a year. The accredited investors have taken the first hit in terms of between year 0 and year 1, in terms of, is this a good project? Is this a bad project? Is Ben managing whiskey well enough in the first year? And from the second year on, with the first set of investors being kind of on the bleeding edge and taking a hit on the risk of that, it's now more open for the rest of the world to participate, or rest of the investor classes to participate in. So I do think that it's currently a fair process, and my appreciation is actually more importantly on the fact that there's some clarity. Whether you agree with that or not is one thing, but there's clarity that it can be done, and it is accessible. So we're going down that path, and we're in the process of launching other products with this structure. So thank you for mentioning the fact that we are launching a second whiskey fund. But separate from that, we're also, we just actually announced less than 24 hours ago, we're launching an NFT fund. So, institutional class NFT fund, which we will also tokenize. So it'll be a token on a portfolio of, NFTs. So, from that perspective, I think that that's very interesting. And that provides access to clients, both domestic and internationally, to this interesting asset class. And it is a liquid asset class to a large extent, but the liquidity is uncertain depending on pieces. It's like, Picasso's, you can value it very easily because there are trade data points. But if you wanted to buy and sell Picasso's on a regular basis, there is actually not a liquid field for that. So similar to NFTs, as we collect some of the more expensive ones, the more collectible ones, I think that there will be a liquidity question, and we're trying to address that by going through tokenization. So and hopefully that gives access, after the initial year of lockup to everybody at different levels.
Excellent. Yeah, I can't wait we can talk about hours and hours about NFTs, which is the latest phenomenon, isn't it? Okay, the next question is to Dr. Richter. You have such an impressive track record. When I was doing some research on you, both in the academia as well as the private sector. And your PhD project was on transparency and traceability on global supply chain. And interestingly enough, I think that's what you mentioned from previously, that you said that that's how you got yourself interested in blockchain, as the technology can actually drive up supply chain transparency. So my next question goes to you. It's from a technological perspective, more players entering the market, the architecture used by the industry is definitely, we are seeing that it's becoming more standardized. However, in the global digital securities regulation, do you think that we can eventually play from the same rule book, where a near homogeneous digital securities global regulation is achieved? So currently there's no common standards and rules, right? So
this goes for me, right?
Yes, it goes to you.
Two answers. First of all, since you mentioned my PhD, interestingly, I had a startup back in those days, but we didn't have any blockchain. We wanted to visualize impact basically across supply chains, across industries. And we miserably failed because we didn't have blockchain. And today, when I look back 15 years, I wish I had it. We had really good money, but we didn't have the technology. So today I'm very excited when I see how the environment is moving across industries. I'm very much interested, for instance, logistics, given that I have a supply chain background. I'm very much interested in shipping. I also have an energy background. So reason why I got into the environmental space. But coming back to the second part of your question, one thing that I do believe, which I don't think will happen anytime soon, is that we will have a clearly fully integrated global environment. I do not believe that. What I do believe is that we will have regionally integrated environments, China, Europe, the US. Just recently, I came across a position paper of the German Bundesbank, Deutsche Bundesbank, for a European cryptocurrency, digital payment system that would basically mirror what China has done with the digital yuan, so a digital euro. So I believe that, given that this is one of my roles here, European tech, the European, and we have elections in Germany, so we do expect quite a number of changes. So my point being that Europe is trying at least to gain back some of the space it lost in the technology space. And I think the cryptocurrency environment, the digital payment systems is one of the areas at least where we're trying, because we completely lost out in the space of e-commerce. As you probably know, we basically have not created any major tech company in the last 20 years or so. There was recently a very interesting article in The Economist about how Europe has not created any brands anymore for 20 years. So it's a truth. And I think what the Europeans do think is that if there's anything they can catch up on, we do have a very large economy, even though it's only, we call it the common market, it's not, but still, and here is my point, creating a integrated system, at least for the European side, would be very, very powerful. Yeah. And I mentioned this before, climate change is a very big topic in Europe, so many people are hopping on this. Of course, there's many other issues you can think of, but I think that's one. What I'm very curious about, to be quite honest, is what's going to happen here in Asia, because China has, to a certain extent, its own system, but there is another big elephant out in the room, which is India, and it's not very clear to me where India is going exactly, if it will be fully integrated, if it will create its own system eventually. As you probably know, there's some very big boys in India that are trying to build their own environment. And anyways, that's what I'm observing. I personally think being in Hong Kong at this point is very exciting. I'm looking into these different directions, looking north to mainland China, looking to east and west and see what's happening. So yeah.
Good position. So, I mean, I always imagine like what happens if, let's say, for example, a Cambodia farmer, and then he tokenizes his future crop and then sell those tokens on a UK or a Singapore platform. And then the person who bought it is a EU resident, for example. So do we even know that whether it is legal or how to record it? And most importantly, what taxes to pay?
Look, let me give you one comment on this, because I think personally that this is a very, very big opportunity for emerging economies, in particular those that don't have very good institutional systems. Nigeria, of all places, is extremely active in cryptocurrency trading. You may know that. Similar, because their currency is not very good. Many countries that were sanctioned by the United States, they tried to create their own currencies, digital currencies that work to a certain extent, national payment systems. But anyways, I do think that there will be a lot of innovation in that space, and that this is going to be quite an interesting opportunity by combining really physical assets, physical trade flows with the financial systems. Those who are regulated, but also, as you probably know, and as you all know, I mean, I'm not telling anything new. Those who are not so much regulated, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hey, Irene, this question next comes to you. So, IX FinTech has been in the business of providing various solutions to transform the trading market since, 2015. So from financial technology platforms, FX and index, to digital assets, solutions such as crypto index, wallets, and digital asset exchange machine, there seems to be no stopping of your team from reaching greater heights. So, but what do you think the recent surge of global crypto adoption, is it causing a massive halo effect on digital securities?
Basically, I think the digital asset trend is irreversible. I can show you some of the research we have, in our quarterly index research. We started our index in 2018 December, and our first review is 2019 first quarter, when at that time there is only about 2,000 cryptos. Okay, and you may imagine how many cryptos we have today is over 10,500 cryptos. So just within 2 years, there's a surge of 5 times the cryptos, right? And another thing is, if you look at the market cap, back then is about 30 billion. 145 billion. Now is at the peak is 2.5 trillion. Even when the Bitcoin went down to about 29,000, right? This time is still with about 1.4 trillion, right? Yeah. And the volume went from 38 billion back in 2019 quarter one, now to 93 billion US dollar. So you can see there's no reverse trend out there. What I think, what we are doing is going forward is not only what you mentioned, but we actually have been stepping into the stable coin and blockchain payment for information. And one thing that we are trying to do, and as Dr. Richards saying, there's a mission behind. Back in 2009, after the quantitative easing, we see the world has a massive explosion in chasing the secondary financial products. So you see in the US market, you see over a few hundred times PE, very normal. But in fact, it is very abnormal because we know it is seriously overpriced. But yet the market continues to go up and nobody knows why. But without getting into the market, you are losing out. So the whole system, in my opinion, is very distorted. And I think, the world should restore, into a world which rely more on the real asset. And hopefully, if we can inject some real asset securitization through tokenization, we can bring this overvaluation of the world financial market, a bit more stabilized, and trying to ease the inequality between the rich and poor. So that's also some missions behind the founding of my company. Another thing is we are also looking into the renewable energy. So not only the carbon, but also we are looking into a new renewable energy from the air, with the moisture. From the moisture through the exchange of temperature between the sky and the ground, we are able to create another form of energy. So that's new things. Maybe you may not heard about it, but it's actually being adopted in China in the past 1.5 years. And relay change hub, yes, we are also looking into it. So we are thinking about building a ring of exchange. Maybe in the beginning could be a cross-border between Hong Kong and China exchanges, and one Belt, One Road exchange, and differs from today's crypto exchange. The challenge is to build the a connecting blockchain system on top of different chains. At the same time, to build into the different private regulator we cannot call it the miner, but we have to put a position into the user, of the chain to confirm the trades that they are under regulated, and also introduce different calculation on the tax system and how we can profit sharing between different countries on the same trade. Say, for example, the buyer coming from Thailand, the seller coming from Hong Kong, are we able to split, the stamp duty back to Thailand and Hong Kong respectively? Something that we are also researching. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, we are running short of time. So I think I just want to give some awareness to TADS Awards. So one last question. So it's like awards like TADS are important, not just to celebrate the community's best works, but I think it is also a proof that the industry was flourishing and here to stay. So what do you think that the TADS event will bring to the community? And does this signify the onset for the maturity of asset tokenization and digital securities industry? So shall we start with James?
Well, I believe the answer is an emphatic yes, because anytime you're giving awards out to a sector, it's going to positively impact them. So I think the answer is an unmitigated yes to all of the points you mentioned, and I think you're going to see avenues of future creativity as well. And to the other panelists, you're going to see a lot of interesting and creative things happen in the next 12 to 18 months on structures and et cetera. And hopefully Sam and his team, or the TADS team, recognize those new structures as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in the US on Reg A activity. Is where you're going to see a lot of interesting things start to happen, because you're at a point where you're kind of a quasi-public vehicle there. So I'm very positive about what you're going to see in the next 12 to 18 months.
Excellent. When you say interesting and exciting things to see, do you have any hints, or do you think that what do you think is actually going to be the next big thing?
Well, to me, I think actually real estate will have some commonality and there'll be some convergence on things, and I think it'll help out. There were a lot of mistakes happening at the beginning where people tried to raise money through tokenization. You have to monetize first. So it's existing portfolios that need the liquidity, not future ones. Those will take its own. But for me, what we're doing a lot of, and some pretty neat structures, is around the real assets, the commodity side, where you can actually start to really do innovative things, be it oil and gas, be it in other commodities, et cetera. In fact, we recently were so positive on it, we went and filed to be a commodity pool operator. So we actually are also, not are we SEC licensed, but I'm CFTC. So to be able to do some additional structures, and that's key in the US, is obviously you do that. So back to the agriculture, who's buying what, but a lot of that's going to first and foremost, blockchain and the technologies around it are going to allow the validation and verification of that. That's one, that provides the ability. It does not ensure just like tokenization, it provides the opportunity for liquidity. It does not ensure liquidity.
Yeah, that's well said. Dr. Richter, you want to comment on any last words, before we end the session?
Look, I'm a big believer in awards. I think incentivizing and rewarding people is incredibly important. At early stage, when you're just starting and you want to see that what you're doing is valuable, similar when you actually have accomplished something. So I totally believe in that. Secondly, I think it's also very important to set some direction. What is valuable, what should be done, and what should not be done. So figuring out from our side, so to speak, what is what should we see in the future, and then award those and push in that direction is an opportunity, of course. I saw a lot of really impressive people on the panel as judges, so I believe that this you have accomplished. I mean, or you've put together quite an interesting. The TADS awards, they have quite an interesting team, so I think they have the capacity to do so. One thing I wanted to add to James' comment, on top of real estate, again, I'm a big believer in digital assets in the green space. Irene also mentioned emissions. I don't know if you were talking about air carbon or any of those, but the whole space of how do we deal with our environmental crisis and putting a price on carbon, putting a price on the commons, I think that's something that many people will hop on. We have a lot of environmental activists today that are very tech savvy, and they will do a lot of things we cannot even think of today, but that's what I believe in. Yeah.
Benjamin, any last words to add?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think everybody's bringing up a lot of good points to, with regards to everything. And I'm going to not comment on the commodity side because I think that becomes a very long conversation. I would look at the TADS awards from a different positive direction, which is really a celebration and a verification from for the projects themselves. So we have a lot of clients who, we talk to with regards to the awards, and they want to hear more about it because we highlight that because we actually went through a due diligence process, a verification process, and an interview process as before we were given the award. So this isn't really just okay, well, 10 people involved, we'll pick one and they're the winner. There really was a very detailed vetting process and so on and so forth. So I think that vetting process is a positive thing for the industry. It does improve the quality of projects. And by having these awards, it gives, I think certification may be a strong word, but it does celebrate the fact that people are striving to do the best that they can for these projects.
Thank you. Irene, any last words?
I cut it short. I think building awareness, education, and setting the compass, for the people. So we need the award.
Excellent. Well said. Okay. Well, that's the end of our panel discussion today. Let's open that to the floor. I don't know whether there's any Q&A questions that anyone would like to ask. So to our distinguished panelists and then on behalf of TADS Awards, I think huge thanks, for taking time off to be here today with me. And to our online viewers, of course, thank you very much for tuning in. We hope that you have enjoyed the session as much as we have thoroughly enjoyed our discussion. And to the TADS Awards teams, thank you for having me again. And, I'm Ian Fong again, and I'm signing out, and keep safe till we meet again.
Thank you so much, Ian. And of course, to all the panelists, that was extremely insightful. And so we really appreciate you coming out here and sharing your expertise. Now, the recording of this session will be uploaded and will be available on the TADS Awards website a week from now. So feel free to check that out or send it to anyone who might be interested. Thank you again for joining all of us tonight, and feel free to register for any of our next upcoming sessions. We have 5, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we hope to see you in our next session. Thank you all, and have a lovely rest of the evening.
Thank you, Sandy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.